I didn't know it yet, but I was about to meet the last person I'd ever trust. The last person who'd laugh as she tried to end me. It's funny looking back. It all started with something so small. A message about clothes on Facebook Marketplace. Just a message, and now here I am. Sprinting for my life, trying to outrun a psycho in a clown costume. But let's start at the beginning. My life was boring. The kind of boring that makes you watch the same shows over and over, hoping for a new scene to magically appear. Long hours at the marketing firm, then collapsing on the couch, phone glued to my face. I'd become obsessed with Facebook Marketplace. Weird, right? But it was something to do. A distraction from the monotony. That's how I found her, Sarah. She was selling secondhand clothes, quirky stuff, retro dresses, chunky jewelry. I liked her style, and soon we started chatting. It seemed innocent enough. Fashion tips, memes, a few FaceTimes. Sarah was different, but in a good way. Or so I thought. After about a week, she suggested we meet. Grab a coffee, check out some clothes she hadn't listed yet. I hesitated. I mean, meeting an internet stranger isn't exactly on the top of my smart decisions list. But she seemed fun, and I was lonely. I wanted a friend. So I agreed. The cafe was just a hole-in-the-wall place downtown. The kind of place where the barista knows everyone's name. I spotted Sarah instantly, hard not to, considering she was in a clown outfit. Full makeup, bright red nose, frilly collar. My first thought, is this a prank? I forced a laugh, but the look in her eyes, something wasn't right. She waved me over, grinning like it was the most normal thing in the world. Just my style, she said, brushing off my questions about the costume. Her voice was high-pitched, almost like she was mimicking a cartoon character. I tried to roll with it, tried to pretend it wasn't weird. But it was. After a coffee that felt like it lasted forever, she invited me to her apartment. I've got more clothes there, she said. I hesitated again. My gut said no, but my mouth said yes. I wish I'd listened to my gut. Her apartment was close by, just a short walk. The moment I stepped in, I knew I'd made a mistake. The walls were covered in old clown posters, masks, photos of girls who looked just like me. My stomach twisted. Sarah locked the door behind us, the click echoing through the small space. "Make yourself at home," she said, her voice suddenly flat, almost bored. I tried to act normal, but everything felt wrong. The photos, the masks, the smell, like old makeup and something metallic. My heart pounded, but I was too polite, too stupid to just leave. She set down a bag of clothes and motioned toward the bedroom. "The best stuff's in here," she said. Her movements were jerky, her grin too wide. I followed, feeling like I was being led to my own execution. Then I saw it, a drawer half open, stuffed with wigs, makeup kits, and a clown mask stained with something dark. My mind raced. How did I get myself into this? I tried to make small talk, tried to keep it light, but my voice shook. Sarah offered me a drink and I declined. She downed something herself, making a joke that didn't even make sense. I forced a smile, but all I could think about was getting out. "You should stay," she said suddenly, her grin tightening. "I've got a real show for you." Her voice dropped to a whisper, conspiratorial, like we were sharing some big secret. My skin crawled, and then she lunged. The knife's hilt was painted like a clown face, her grin twisted as she swiped at me. I dodged, knocking over a table, sending clothes and knickknacks flying. Panic surged through me. I grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy lamp, and swung it, trying to keep her away. Her laughter filled the room, high and manic as she came at me again. I crashed into a stack of boxes, sending them tumbling. More clown memorabilia spilled out, framed photos of Sarah with other girls. Girls who looked just like me. My heart pounded in my ears. This wasn't about clothes. This was a trap. Sarah's phone buzzed on the counter. A notification lit up the screen. Got another one. My stomach dropped. Another girl was on her way here. I had to do something. I hurled the lamp at Sarah, hitting her in the side. She screamed, stumbling, and I ran for the door, fumbling with the lock, my hands shaking. I got it open and bolted into the hallway, her screams echoing behind me. I ran down the stairs, heart in my throat, hearing her footsteps, her laughter. I burst out onto the street, shoving through a group of dumb jocks who were laughing at something stupid. They barely noticed me, didn't see the danger. I ran for the crowd, dialing 911, my voice barely a whisper as I told the operator what happened. I hid in a convenience store, crouched behind a shelf, still shaking. Sarah's phone was in my hand, messages open. Dozens of girls, targets, victims. My stomach twisted. The police arrived and I handed them the phone, my voice numb as I explained. They took me back to the station and I told them everything. Days later, they told me Sarah was gone. Her apartment was empty, walls stripped bare, no trace. I couldn't sleep after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her grin, heard her laughter. I deleted my social media, cut myself off. It was the only way I felt safe. Weeks passed. I tried to move on, but then a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a clown mask, one of the ones from her apartment, and a note. You survived this time. I threw it away, but the fear lingered. I moved, changed my number, tried to start fresh, but every time I met someone new, I saw her eyes, her smile. Every time I went online, I wondered if she was out there, watching. One night, I was scrolling through a new platform, trying to forget. A profile caught my eye, secondhand clothes for sale. The profile photo? A clown with red curls. My heart stopped. This can't be happening. Story 2. The knife came down, slicing the air, and I could see nothing behind her eyes. No fear, no reason, just that grin, stretching wider like some nightmare that wouldn't end. I ran, heart pounding, praying the cops would show before she turned her attention to me. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be a birthday party. My niece was supposed to laugh, not scream. But it all went to hell the moment Bubbles showed up. The day started like any other. I had everything planned for my niece's birthday, and I thought I was being clever by hiring a clown. Found Bubbles online, some so-called professional with great reviews, pictures with smiling kids, the works. I thought, hey, nothing says fun like a clown, right? Everything felt like it was falling into place. The kids were already buzzing with excitement, my niece running around the yard, face covered in sticky icing. I was feeling pretty damn proud of myself. Then Bubbles arrived. There was something off. Not creepy exactly, just weird. Maybe it was the pink hair that was a little too bright, or the way she smiled a little too hard, like her face would crack if she stopped. But whatever, I told myself. She's a clown. Weird is part of the job. She started off fine, balloon animals, juggling, making the kids laugh. My sister gave me that nod like, good job, and I felt like a hero. But then her smile changed, stretched wider, more plastic, like her makeup had hardened in place. I remember thinking, is she still acting? It wasn't funny anymore. The way she moved, all jerky, like a puppet with its strings cut. I was starting to wonder if this was part of her routine, a creepy clown bit for laughs. But the kids weren't laughing anymore. They were just staring. She pulled out a knife-shaped balloon. The kids screamed, and I laughed it off. Sure, I thought. Keep it edgy, whatever works. But her eyes, there was nothing in them. No humor. Just emptiness. Then, out came the real knife. A long, sharp blade, glinting in the sunlight. And everyone just froze. Parents. Kids. Me. We were all waiting for the punchline that never came. Chaos erupted. Parents grabbed their kids, screams filled the air, and Bubbles. She just kept smiling, like this was the most fun she'd had in years. She locked eyes with me, and I felt my stomach drop. You're next, she said, voice high, sing-songy. I ran, no thoughts, just raw panic. Into the house, slammed the door, locked it, every nerve in my body on fire. I could hear her outside, banging on the windows, laughing like she was daring me to come back out. I dialed 911, hands shaking, the words spilling out, not making any sense. "There's a clown, a knife. She's trying to kill us." It sounded insane, even to me. Then I saw it. A tiny camera pinned to her costume, barely noticeable. My stomach dropped. Was this some kind of sick prank? Was this whole thing live-streamed? Some twisted stunt for views? My niece's birthday turned into a freak show for strangers on the internet. I peeked out, saw the dads still out there. Dumb jocks, standing like they couldn't decide if this was real or some act. One of them walked right up to her. "Yo, that's a cool knife. Is that real?" "Idiot." She slashed at him, not deep, but enough to make him scream and run. That's when I knew this wasn't a prank. This was real, and she wasn't stopping. The sirens came eventually, but by then, Bubbles was gone. Just vanished, like she was never there. The cops didn't believe me. Viral prank, they said. But I knew what I saw. The fear, the knife, the camera. She was still out there somewhere, and I was just the latest fool who hired her. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that grin, those dead eyes. I kept thinking about how close I came to dying, how I brought that nightmare right to my niece's doorstep. My sister tried to reassure me, told me it wasn't my fault, but I couldn't shake the guilt. I kept replaying it all in my head, every detail, every mistake. How I trusted some stranger from the internet to entertain a bunch of kids. How stupid I was. I started looking up anything I could find about Bubbles. I scoured forums, dug through old social media posts, anything that might give me a clue. There were other stories, people who'd hired her for parties, events, all of them ending in chaos. Some talked about the hidden cameras, others about the knives. It was like she thrived on the fear, the attention, and no one could find her. She'd show up, cause havoc, and disappear without a trace. It was like she wasn't even real, just some ghost in a clown costume. The cops took my statement, but I could tell they weren't convinced. A viral prank, live streamed to the dark web. It sounded insane, even to me. They searched the house, the yard, the neighborhood, but they found nothing. No sign of her, no clues, just the wreckage she left behind. The only evidence she'd been there was the slashed arm of that dumb jock and the terror etched into everyone's faces. I couldn't stay in that house. Every creak, every shadow made my heart race. I packed up and stayed with my sister for a while. My niece, bless her, didn't seem to understand what had happened. She kept asking when the clown was coming back, if we could have another party. I just nodded, forced to smile. But inside, I felt sick. I knew I'd never let that happen again. Weeks passed, and the fear didn't fade. I kept expecting to see her, around every corner, in every crowd. That pink hair, that twisted smile. I jumped at every sound, every unexpected knock at the door. I knew she was still out there, somewhere, watching, waiting. And I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. That one day she'd come back to finish what she started. The nightmares kept coming. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, the sound of her laughter echoing in my ears. I'd see her face, that grin, the knife in her hand. And I'd remember the way she looked at me, like I was just another part of her game, like none of it mattered. I knew I had to be ready. If she came back, I wouldn't run. I wouldn't hide. I'd fight. I had to. For my niece, for my family, for myself. But deep down, I knew the truth. Bubbles wasn't just some clown. She was something else, something evil. And no matter what I did, no matter how much I prepared, I knew I'd never be ready. Because you can't fight a nightmare. You can only hope to survive it.